Testing, testing. Good morning, good afternoon. Thumbs up or something if you can hear me and see me so we can get started. I don't see. Where is the comments? Any reactions? Anybody? You can see? Thank you. All right. I'm sure more will join as we go. Let's get started. Thank you for making time to join with us with the Facebook Live team. Today's presentation is unique and exotic vegetables and greens you should be trying in your vegetable garden. Many of the slides you see here and the work was originally done by the Master Gardener Extraordinaire, Mr. Paul Eyre. Okay, what makes it unique? Well, hey, not commonly known. When you think Texas, you think okra, watermelon, onion, squash, tomatoes, but not other crops like fennel, tomatillo, or molokhia. They are unique because whether it's a part of a specific cuisine or typical for a certain region of the world, of course now the world is getting smaller, so you can go anywhere and find a restaurant from any country. If you are in a major metropolitan city, you can find restaurant for any country that you like. Another reason why some vegetables are unique is they are difficult to grow. Not everybody is expert at it. Like artichokes, celeriac, even heirloom tomatoes. Not everybody's great at it. Okay, or they have unusual uh, taste or acquired taste, whether salty like okahijiki or bitter, really bitter. Really have to know how to cook it, like in the Indian cuisine for bitter melon, etc. Okay, so this presentation I'm going to give you examples of crops that I have tested with in collaboration with other people or I did myself. Okay, and another reason what makes a vegetable or herb unique is that we may be familiar in eating one part of the plant, like when you think broccoli, you think the head of the, but leaves and the small leaves and etc. Are edible and consumed by other countries. So you may see a dish and it may look surprising to you that, hey, this is broccoli. All right, so let me skip through and start with the real presentations. This is arugula, roquette, another name for it. It's recently enjoyed spurgeon popularity. It's great in the cool season, like now. If you have seedlings, it's a great time to plant it up north here in the Dallas area. Seeding it, maybe you put some blanket to warm it up, warm the soil so they germinate better. But it can take the cold very well. It has spicy flavor, kind of like mustard green. So if you're familiar with mustard greens, you should enjoy it. It can be eaten fresh in a salad or cooked. If I suggest that you cook it as a beginner so that you get used to it, and then experiment with putting a little bit amount in your salad. So don't try to eat it alone until you get used to it. Okay, and now one way of getting rid of the pungency is to blanch it. You can cover it with a black cloth so it doesn't get the light, so it's milder in flavor. Or switch to another variety that is less pungent, and then when you look at the catalog, they can tell you that. And of course, harvest when the temperatures are cool. For example, radish is great this time of year, but you plant in the spring, it's kind of spicy. Just because it's growing in a little bit warmer climate. You plant it now, it's very mild and tasty. Okay, so and this is radicchio that you see here with another leaf chicory. Um, how you select the crop that you sometimes it's a hobby. Like to me, I always have half my garden the staple crops that I eat regularly and I cook with regularly, and the other half is fun and experimental, whether new varieties or some unique way of growing it or trellising it in a new way. So think of that approach. Think of trying something that has unique sense, taste of smell, something you never grown before, and just to keep that passion and the hobby and the excitement of gardening alive. Okay, and remember that some plants you have the flowers that are edible, leaves, or even leaves and seed pods and fruits and stems and everything that can be possible. This is called the toothache plant, Sichuan buttons. It is the unopened flower. I hope you can see the mouse. That is edible. You chew it. It'll feel like you're chewing on electricity, and then after you have a lot of drool, saliva coming out, and then after a while your mouth is numb. That's why it's called toothache plant. Great fun to try it. I was tricked into eating it once, and it was very fun. But it works. Okay. Many of the ornamental crops that you're familiar with, like ornamental cabbages, are edible. You can choose something that's red leaf color and use it as ornamental edible, and it looks nice and it's still edible because the red leaf in the color is anthocyanin, and we know that is nutritious. And then not just the nutrition part, but anything with the red leaf seems to tolerate more UV. So if you were to plant lettuce in the spring and it's going to warm up real fast, switch to a red leaf variety that will help that lettuce from bolting, reduce the risk that it will bolt versus if you planted a regular green leaf lettuce. An example of another example of something with a red leaf that looks nice and is very nutritious. I mean, Indian, Asian cuisine is full of this edible amaranth, and now has another unique name called tropical spinach. So if you look in the catalog and you see tropical spinach, it is not spinach. It's just a marketing ploy to attract more people to grow it. But it's a relative of a cousin of the wild pigweed that grows everywhere. And by the way, the wild pigweed is edible. It's not poisonous, especially when they're young seedlings. And this is of the same family and just as nutritious and looks pretty like you see in this color here, in this picture on top here. Other red/green look pretty and edible, and some are the beet and beet family, whether beetroots or beet greens. And now there are varieties that both the roots and the greens are edible, like you see here in this picture. I mean, you plant this around a flower bed, such a beautiful, pretty color, and they're also a food. Molokhia is another unique crop you should consider. Molokhia means fit for kings. It's very popular in the Middle East. It is a cousin of okra. So to me, this is one of the 2 or 3 leafy greens that you can grow in the middle of summer. You know that in the spring and fall, early spring and fall, you're eating the leaves of all the herbs, but when it warms up, now you're eating the fruits. The cucumber, the squash, the cantaloupe, all those are fruits. They're nutritious, but not as nutritious as the leaf when you're consuming leaves. So if you want something in the middle of summer that's just as nutritious, think of Molokhia. And it's becoming more and more popular. Just search online and you'll find many companies selling it. And it cooked as a stew, and don't buy a lot, don't buy 5 ounces, a few seeds is plenty. It's cut and grow, and then later in the summer it will start seeding and save the seed pods, and you can have a lifetime of Molokhia. Okahijiki is one of those that are um, salty. I guess it's called, yes, it's right there, the seaweed that grows on land. That's the rough translation of Japanese. It grows very well in marshy land, close to the edge of the sea, and it's naturally salty and tasty, and you can cook it and or eat it fresh as a side dish, and it may be not if you have a high blood pressure, but look how thick and how fast it grows and does very well. Okay, so and that's the close-up of how it looks. It's crunchy texture. Okay, so it's becoming more and more popular in Europe because the same cuisine, the same taste for fish and for salty foods that go well with the fish. Mizuna is coming common. I mean, it's in catalogs everywhere. It grows very fast, like you see here between these two beds. It's like a 10 days worth of growth. It's a relative. I mean, I call it mustard, Asian mustard. It looks like mustard greens and tastes like mustard greens. So you should really consider it. And you see, all of these are herbs, and they do very well early in the spring, not in the heat of summer, except Molokia, or in the fall planting. Cress, garden cress. It's a fast-growing herb. It's not. I'm not talking about the watercress. This is land cress or garden cress or pepper cress. While okahijiki is salty, this is peppery. I mean, in Lebanon we call it poor man's pepper. You don't have black pepper. Just chew on this with the food or your salad in this, and you get that spice like you added the black pepper to your food. Swiss chard, that's not unique. What's unique about it is that the new colors that are becoming more and more available on the market, like you see here again, this is one of those things that you can consider as ornamental, edible in your vegetable garden, even in the front yard, not just in the backyard. They look pretty and edible. Sorrel is one of those things, Rumex acetosa, garden sorrel, spinach dog, it can be found under many names. It is the roots that is edible, and if you live in an area where you have heavy clay soil, like the black land muck that we have here in the Dallas area, this will do very well. It adapted. Of course, it can grow very well in sandy soil too. You just have to water more often. Okay, and that's how the roots grow, and kind of looks like a carrot root, and this is still small. They will get thicker and bigger as the plant grows, like a carrot would. And this deep root, the deep tap root, tells you that it is drought resistant. Okay, fava bean is a winter bean, really. Because that's the earliest that you can plant and the first thing that you can will flower and can harvest even in March in some location. In College Station, I was harvesting it in March. That's how the pods look like. You're seeing it more and more in stores, and it's edible like this, fresh. It's dry. You can cook it. You can wait till it's dry and then cook it. But if fresh like this, it's edible, kind of like peas or snow peas. Something to consider. Corn salad or mache or lamb's lettuce or fell salad, lots of other name, is grows compact, and I'll show you in a slide again in the future, that is very, very cold resistant. So if you like to harvest greens over the winter, plant a thick bed like this, and then you'll never run out of fresh greens that you can cook with. Corn salad. Claytonia, that's an acquired taste, but it was very nutritious, and it became famous by the miners in California who were running out of vitamin C, relying only on protein, and it was growing wild, and they ate it, and it cured all the scurvy and all the issues that they were having because it's high in vitamin C. So whether it's eating fresh, like lettuce, part of the salad, or cook it like any dish you can think of, has spinach in it, replace this with it, will be just as fine. Okay, you cannot tell if you replace spinach with this. High in vitamin C. Mesclun mix is, you can buy seeds that are mesclun mix, okay? And mesclun literally mean mixture of many things. So you see here in the middle, a mesclun mix may include arugula, radicchio, frisee, mizuna, dandelion green, chicory, mache, sorrel. Every country in Europe has their own taste of what they added the mesclun mix. You seed them together and you harvest them together, and you get an instant salad bowl like that. Some of the fancy restaurant, a salad bowl like this is $10-15. So you can grow it easy with minimum care, a little bit of nitrogen, minimum care, and in the winter, over the winter, fall and winter, insect issues are not that bad. So consider adding mesclun mix. This way you can have a variety of all these that will complement each other. One is a little bit bitter, one is a little bit spicy, one is a little bit bland. They kind of complement each other in the taste, instead of going 100% with one taste and it's too much for you. Unique, too strong flavor, and you don't like it. Other crops I would like you to consider is ginger, taro, rhubarb, Asian eggplant, Asian vegetables, yard-long bean, and I'll show you pictures from various trials over the years that I've done here. This is ginger that I've grown in the greenhouse. It doesn't like the sun too much, so if you have a greenhouse or not used for the summer because it's too hot, put some ginger root that you buy from the store and grow them in pots. The bigger the pot, the better, because that 2-ounce piece that you see here will end up growing to be 2-3 pounds. And this is harvested early, but just showing you how from this one piece here, kind of like a seed potato, that seed ginger grows and develops into more and more pieces of ginger. Taro, I bought taro from the store and I planted them one time in the field like you see in the upper corner, and one time in just in the soil, in the potting mix media, and fertilized, and they did very well. From one piece that was about the size of this here, I got all these pieces, 2 or 3 pounds. Taro is a bland flavor, kind of like a potato. So potato is bland, I guess. Fry it, cook it. I'm sure you'll look in Asian recipe, you'll find 1,000,001 way of cooking with taro. It's a source of carbohydrates that complement any protein dish. This is rhubarb here in the bottom right of this picture. I'm circling with the mouse. In this picture there's onion, calette, and chard, and kale, and potatoes in the buckets, but I'm gonna focus only on the rhubarb. Nobody thinks that you can grow rhubarb, but I'm showing you here rhubarb with the frost on it. It doesn't bother it at all. Maybe the 9-degree Fahrenheit we had last year, winter will kill it if it was not covered by snow. But usual winters, normal winter, it will not bother it. So you seed it, you seed early, you transplant it in the garden September, October, and then it grows, and then you harvest it in the spring and you dig it out and throw it away in June. So that's one way of growing rhubarb. Asian vegetables, and here in this trial we did in El Paso and Overton, College Station, sorry, not College Station, my colleagues in College Station, we've done a lot of work with Asian vegetables, also in hydroponic. All kind of bok choy, loose leaf Chinese cabbage, different colors of bok choy. If you like cabbage and broccoli, why aren't you growing bok choys? They're same family, taste the same. They can be in and out in a greenhouse. They can be in and out in 20, 30 days. In the garden, they can be a little longer. But you see how well they adapt to any type of hydroponic system, or planting in the field. Here's red, green, and I forget which this one, but this is loose leaf Chinese cabbage, planted at Overton in the open field. In that trial, 90-degree Fahrenheit, 3 nights in a row, killed everything, as you see in these 2 rows, except for the mâché that I showed you earlier, or corn salad. So that is very cold tolerant, much more than kale, which I expected was the most cold tolerant. And this is Calette here, which is a cross between kale and Brussels sprouts, meaning it will grow the stalk like Brussels sprouts, but on that stem, instead of those little baby cabbages, you have 3 or 4 leaves of the kale ready for harvest. Great, tastes great. You don't get those huge kale leaves that you have to cut. It's ready to eat directly because they're tiny and small. Great crop, and becoming more and more popular. Now, garlic is not a unique crop. It's the way I grow it is unique. I call it green garlic because I plant the whole bulb, as you see here. I put them 4 by 4, like in a grid, 4 inches apart. I buy the cheapest I can find in the store because I'm not growing them to make more garlic cloves. I'm growing them to get the green part. So this is how they're growing, and like these here are ready for harvest. I kind of wait till they are 6 inches, at least the leaf portion 6 inches tall, look like that. And when you clean them, they look like green onion, but they are garlic. That's why I'm calling them Greek garlic. They're milder in taste. You chop them, you cut them, slice them, use them directly in cooking. You can dehydrate them and then store them forever. And then when you want to cook them, soak them in water to reconstitute, and then add them to your stew. It's a great way of getting, and you start in the in the fall, and then, I don't know, sometimes 20 days, sometimes 30 days, depending on how cold it is. You take one bulb out and you put another one in it. You don't want to add fertilizer, you don't have to, because these are feeding on their own cloves, the food that is stored in their own clove. Okay? Other Asian vegetables we've experimented with and we tried is the different kinds of oriental eggplant that you see here. I like them because the skin is much softer and you don't have to peel it. Like when you think of Italian eggplant, you don't have to peel it, you just cut them and cook with them. All the Chinese or Japanese recipes that have eggplant is using these, so you can try that and you see how much milder and tastier, and they don't seem to make as much seeds as the other regular eggplant you're familiar with. Yard-long bean, these 3 varieties that you see in the bottom, literally 2 feet long, edible at this stage, or even at this stage. The beans, you can remove them, or you can leave them even longer and dry them, just like any regular bean, that variety are longer. I noticed that they may require a little extra cooking because they can get a little tougher. They are by nature a little tougher. So if English beans, cook them for 15 minutes. These may need 20-25 minute boiling to be the same softness. With that, I hope you enjoyed my presentation. I want to thank you and enjoy your gardening. Bye-bye.